What are UFOs? Do aliens exist? Have they been here before? These are all questions that researchers in the field of ufology hope to someday definitively answer.
UFOology has always been really fascinating to me because there are these things that are going on that we get these tiny glimpses of. It's easy to think somebody's crazy, but it takes more time and thought to think, could there be something more to this?
I want the answers.
And I have the proof.
I worked for the British government for 21 years at the Ministry of Defence, and for much of the early 90s, my job there was to research and investigate the UFO phenomenon. My father was a senior government scientist, director of the Royal Aeronautical Establishment at Farnborough, and Ministry of Defence was almost the family business, so you could say that I just joined the family firm.
I'm one of these people who has a big passion and interest in UFOs, but I've never actually had a UFO encounter. I got interested because my father was in the British Royal Air Force and he was a radar mechanic, and he was involved in 3 UFO encounter incidents in September 1952. Interestingly enough, this was at the height of a NATO operation called Exercise Mainbrace, and it was a show of strength to the Russians. You know, you try anything, we've got all this to fire back at you. And over the course of 3 nights, UFO activity was reported by the personnel out on the operation. And so aircraft were scrambled, fighter planes. Some of the pilots reported seeing like classic 1950s era Day the Earth Stood Still flying saucers. Others saw these bright lights in the sky, brilliantly bright lights. Everybody was told, you won't talk about this. And my dad didn't tell anyone until I was about 12. And it got me interested, not because it was my own father, but because he was also trained in the military as a radar mechanic.
Ufology is the study of reports, visual records, and other phenomenon related to unidentified flying objects.
Well, I think what attracts me to this is that, my thing is really ancient aliens, but on other planets. If you look at the moon or you look at Mars, you can see clear evidence of structures, of manufactured buildings and pyramids and all kinds of stuff, signs of ancient civilizations on other planets.
UFO reports have been subject to various investigations over the years by governments, independent groups, and scientists.
But if I just find one artificial structure on Mars, okay, I've proven that either human history is completely different than they've taught us, and we were there on Mars a long time ago, the whole Atlantis thing, and our civilization fell and now it's rising back up, or I've proven that aliens exist, one of the two. So that's what attracted me to that line of things, the Eric von Daniken, Richard Hoagland line of thinking, is because it's provable.
Ufology as a field has not really been embraced by academia and is largely considered a pseudoscience by the scientific community and mainstream media. So who are the people who champion and dedicate their lives to this field of research? What compels them to keep going in the face of derision and hardship?
I wasn't that good a student at school, didn't know what I wanted to do. And as fate would have it, I got a job on like a What's On guide in the local town I was living on. I did a lot of the music stuff. After working for this magazine, which was called Zero, for a couple of years, I thought, well, why not try and expand and take the journalistic approach I've done on the magazine, but combine it with research into UFOs. Take that journalistic approach with aliens. So I've been sort of actively doing research for about 30 years.
With new reports and sightings mounting on almost a daily basis, and with many mainstream media outlets reporting on the phenomenon, perception is beginning to change.
Yeah, I was about 12 years old. I was at a Boy Scout camp, and we were taking a shortcut up for lunch because we were really hungry, and I was with 3 other kids, so there were 4 of us all together. And this one guy knew of a shortcut, and I could take you there today. It was at Camp Horseshoe, Rising Sun, Maryland. And it was this kind of an uphill dry creek bed, boulder to boulder, so it was really kind of fun. And it was like either in the early spring or early fall. But the bottom line was we were, single file, hopping from boulder to boulder. And one of the kids goes, "Wow, what's that?" And the other kids go, "Whoa, what is that?" And I go, "Where?" And they go point and they go, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" And we're looking at the classic UFO, the classic disc hovering in the sky, the sunlight glinting off of it for, I would say, at least 20 seconds. And we're looking at this thing and it just goes like this. Just like, you could follow it, but it was just like, and it was gone. We go running back to the camp. "We saw a UFO, we saw a flying saucer." All the kids are gathered around us, the scoutmasters come out, oh, that type of thing. And we told the story and they were all laughing at us. And we went to lunch and they laughed more. And by the dinner hour, the other three boys, "Oh, we just made it up." And I just sat there and went, "No, we didn't. We didn't make anything up. I know what I saw." It was my first lesson in herd mentality and groupthink and how dangerous that is. And so I've always been, anytime I get a whiff of groupthink, it's just like, I'm instantly repelled by it.
The UFO subject matter is sort of the gateway drug to so many other venues of what is reality, what are we doing here on this planet, asking the big questions. My curiosity got weaponized, as my good friend Jeremy Corbell would say, when I saw some craft in the sky, a daytime sighting back in 2007. There was a number of just kind of like white specks in the sky. Started off with just a handful, and then they started showing up more and more. The whole sky was sort of peppered with them, and I was like, what the hell is going on here, right? I thought for sure it was going to make the mainstream news that night and next day, and there was nothing there. And checking the internet, checking, the 7 o'clock news, I thought for sure everybody should have seen this event. Nothing happened, but I kept researching because I was, baffled at what I saw and I wanted to know more.
Ufologists come from all walks of life. One thing that they all seem to have in common is a passion for the subject. But of course, not everyone in this field started out as a believer.
When I grew up, the UFO phenomenon was really not something that was looming large in my awareness. So when I joined the Ministry of Defense, and then when I got posted into the UFO project, I had no real in-depth knowledge about UFOs. This, to me, was just a government job, a pretty strange one. I wasn't even really sure what the deal was. That I knew we did it, but I wasn't quite sure how or why. I went into the job, certainly, and in the individual investigations, we got about 200 or 300 cases each year. I went in certainly with an open mind, but I think intellectually it was difficult not to have the view that, look, we're probably going to find an awful lot of aircraft lights, weather balloons, meteorites. Of course, that's exactly what we did find. The vast majority of sightings we found either had a conventional explanation. The people were sincere enough, but they misidentified something.
I don't think I would ever call myself a skeptic of the phenomenon, but I've been a skeptic of certain cases.
80% of the cases we found that we were dealing with misidentifications of known objects and phenomena. In 15% of the cases we had insufficient information to make an assessment. In 5% of the cases, unknown. Now, it was important to say, of course, unknown did not mean extraterrestrial spacecraft. I mean, we constantly had to push back against this kind of UFO equals aliens equation, which is totally bogus. I mean, people say, do you believe in UFOs? It's a meaningless question. You can't not believe in UFOs. I mean, these are literally, by definition, things people see and can't explain. Most of them have conventional explanations, some don't. With the ones that don't, the extraterrestrial hypothesis is one of a number of competing theories, and absolutely we considered that. We didn't rule it out, but neither did we have any definitive evidence that could prove it.